Hey guys, what is up? It's Heidi. Welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you guys could tell or not, but I've been filming a lot more on this YouTube channel lately. I want to start making more videos about my disability, kind of like how I used to, because I know a lot of you guys really like that, and I feel like most of my subscribers probably have the same disability as me, or because they also have a disability. I kind of want to make a whole series dedicated to my disability. I kind of already have that on my TikTok. To kick off this little series, I thought I would redo my disability Q&A video. I'm going to answer basically the same questions as I did last time. It's been a few years since then, so it should be better now. Alright, with that, let's just get started. So obviously, if you could not tell, I definitely do have a disability. So the first question is, what kind of disability do you have? The kind of disability I have is called Arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, which is a very long word. You can just say AMC for short. The specific type of arthrogryposis I was born with is called amyoplasia, which means it's not genetic. I did not get it because my parents or a specific gene that my parents had. It just happened sporadically. I think it's because I probably didn't move around enough in the womb. I don't know. It just happens sometimes. And it just so happened that it happened to me. Alright, the next question obviously is, what is arthrogryposis? What does it mean? What does it do? What does it, I'm going to read the exact definition that I found online. Arthrogryposis, also called Arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, is a term used to describe a variety of conditions involving multiple joint contractures or stiffness. A contracture is a condition where the range of motion or joint is limited and may be unable to fully, partially extend or bend. So yeah, that is the best definition that I could give. So that's the definition, but how it specifically affects me is actually all of my joints. So my shoulders, my arms, my hands, my legs, my feet, my hips, like basically everything. Is my disability progressive? Will it get worse over time? No, arthrogryposis is actually not a progressive disability, meaning my joint contractures aren't going to get like worse or more stiff over time. However, if you do therapy to try to correct some joint contractures, it can go back to how it was before if you don't keep up with that therapy. I don't do therapy anymore because I've tried it ever since I was a little kid, and basically it really doesn't do anything for me. Is arthrogryposis the same for everybody? No, like I said, my disability affects me in all of my joints. Some people might not have it in all of their joints. Some people might have it only in a few. It might affect them differently. So yeah, it's definitely not the same for everybody. Are you born with arthrogryposis, or can you develop it over time? No, you cannot develop arthrogryposis over time, I don't think. I've never heard of that happening. It is a disability that you are born with, either genetically or in my case, sporadically. It just happened out of nowhere. Don't be scared that one day you're just gonna wake up and all of a sudden have arthrogryposis. Like, that's not how it works. Is it difficult to walk? Because of course, the arthrogryposis affects my legs and my feet. I wouldn't say it's difficult. I mean, I've seen videos of me walking and I'm like, it does look difficult. It does look like I'm having a hard time and like it's painful or something, but it's not. It just comes second nature to me, just like how everybody else walks. I will say the only time it gets difficult to walk is if I'm walking for an extended period of time. Then it gets a little painful and I get really tired fast. So that's the only time that it gets a little bit difficult for me. This next question is probably the most popular question online and in real life. Are you ever going to drive? Will you be able to drive? And how are you going to drive? So I think I touched on this in another one of my vlogs. I have been studying for the permit, so it just depends on when I'm going to actually take the permit test. And then after that, I don't really know what that's going to look like. It's obviously going to be different because I have a disability. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that I won't be able to drive. And to answer how I'm going to drive, obviously I will probably need a few adaptations to the car that I get. Yeah, like I said, I'm just studying for my permit for now, so actually driving and learning to drive is like way down the road. And I think this is a great question. Do you prefer when people ask to help you first, or just to come over and kind of help you? So I know a lot of people with disabilities feel differently about this. I would recommend always asking first, but for me, I personally don't care. I've had people in public, like when I'm trying to do something, if they see me struggling, they're gonna come over and help me. Like, that's just like kind of like a nice thing to do, I guess. And I've never been offended by that. Even if it's something that I might look like I'm struggling, but I'm actually not, I still take it as like a kind gesture that someone is taking the time to help me. I would never be like, you should have asked me first. Like, I would never do that. Like, I think it's also nice because some people with disabilities feel like a burden to ask for help or get embarrassed to ask for help. So if someone is willing to just help you, I find that completely fine. And if it's something that I can do, I would just politely tell them like, oh, it's okay, thank you so much for helping me, but I'm fine. Someone asked me if I ever had a family, would my children also have the same disability as me? The kind of disability I have is not genetic, so most likely they would not also be born with arthrogryposis. If they did, that would be just as rare of a chance as me being born with arthrogryposis. I think 1 in 10,000 people are born with amyoplasia arthrogryposis, so most likely no. Oh, another question is, have I ever met anybody else with arthrogryposis? I actually have. The first time I ever met someone with arthrogryposis, oh gosh, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 8 years old. I don't know, I was pretty young. I just remember it being the best feeling ever. At that point in my life, I was starting to realize that I had a disability and starting to realize like, oh, I'm different than everybody else and life is a little bit more difficult. I remember I felt very alone. I remember being like, oh, I'm not alone, like other people do have this and other people are going through the same thing as I am. Shortly after I met the first person I ever met with arthrogryposis, I ended up finding out about this arthrogryposis convention that they put on once a year. It's basically where people with arthrogryposis go and meet up with each other for a few days. You get to talk with other people who relate to you. If you have a disability, I would highly recommend reaching out and finding support with someone else with the same disability as you, or just disabilities in general, because I feel like it's just a special bond. Like you both will understand each other more than anybody else will, and makes you feel so much less alone, and it's a really good feeling. Is my disability physically painful? Usually no, it's not. Sometimes I'll get a pain in like my hand or my feet because they're so stiff. So obviously since it's so stiff and I can't move them, it will cause a little bit of discomfort. It's something that does not happen very often. Like I said, walking a lot or exercising a lot, like standing up for an extended period of time, stuff like that, it is a little bit painful, but that's the only time it gets painful. But on the regular, no, I'm not in pain. How much do you need help with on like a daily basis? This is something I'm very proud of to talk about now. I used to be very embarrassed because I used to need help with a lot. Almost every aspect of my life I needed help with. For me, it was kind of embarrassing, like growing up and needing help with certain things. I'm gonna make a whole separate video on how you can try to be as independent as possible with a disability. I mean, everybody is different. Everybody is going to need a different level of help or assistance. I feel so lucky though that I have learned to be as independent as I am. You can go watch one of my last videos, A Day in My Life with a Disability. You can kind of get a feel for that in that video. If I had to guess, I would say I'm about 80% independent. The other 20% is probably like weird little things that I need help with throughout the day. But for the most part, I'm pretty independent. How many surgeries have I had? Honestly, I've lost count now. Probably close to 20 surgeries though, 2 of which I have vlogged, so make sure to go watch those. Will I ever be able to independently live on my own? Yes, I definitely think I will be able to. Like I said, I have learned to be pretty independent. I definitely think I'll be able to live on my own, and I definitely hope I can. I feel like I could definitely live on my own for like the most part. I would imagine like I would probably have my parents come over like once a week to help me with things that I can't do by myself. Like my sister moved out and we see her like once a week, so I feel like that's not out of the normal, you know? But that kind of goes along with the next question, which is, will you need a PCA? Which a PCA is a personal care assistant. A lot of people with disabilities have these. One of my biggest goals is to live independently. So I really hope that I don't need one, but obviously if I do move out and it is really difficult and I can't do certain things, that's definitely something to consider. But I'm really hoping that I won't need that, just because it's a goal of mine to live like 100% independently. That's just me personally. Someone said, is it harder to make friends with a disability? When you're younger, definitely not. They see past it and they think you're really cool because you have one. But yeah, definitely when you start to get older, it's definitely a little bit different. I would say it's definitely harder to make friends, but I have a really good group of friends that I have. They've literally told me, they're like, Heidi, I literally don't even notice you have a disability at this point. Like, it's not even a thought in their minds. And yeah, I'm really thankful for my group of friends that I have. They know who they are. They're probably watching this. Which kind of goes along with the next question. Are people mean to you because of your disability? Most of the time, no. Of course, I've dealt with people that have definitely been mean to me because of my disability, which is a very, very awful feeling. But especially now that I'm older, I feel like people are pretty nice to me. But yeah, if they're not, then I kind of like learn to deal with it and I would just like ignore them. What are some things that I find difficult / are there certain things that I find especially difficult? Yeah, definitely. I don't know how to explain this. I would say like showering by myself and getting myself dressed are definitely the most difficult parts of my day because it's difficult. I can do it by myself, but yeah, it definitely is difficult. If you could, would you ever change anything about yourself? I noticed like when I was little and in like elementary school, a lot of my friends would be like, I wish I could be like you for a day, blah, blah, blah. And I used to always be like, no, you don't. Like, I wish I could be like you. Like, which is kind of sad, but like if they were little, I was little, so it is what it is. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I did not think what it would be like without a disability. But I mean, this is just my life. I try not to dwell on if I would change anything if I could, or what it would be like if I wasn't born with a disability, because that is just a horrible mindset to have. It's something that actually like has made me really depressed to think about, because it's just an awful thought. Like, this is how my life is, and learn to accept it. This is just how it is. That's how it's always going to be, and that's how it always has been. So yeah, you just kind of have to look at it with a positive mindset, which is really hard sometimes, but yeah, that's how I would answer that question. Does your disability affect you mentally? As in like mental health wise? Yeah, I would say that. A lot of my mental health struggles, like anxiety and depression, self-esteem, all that, have definitely centered around having a disability. And I never realized that, which sounds really stupid. Like, of course, a lot of your mental health issues are probably centered around my disability, but I never realized that until like graduated high school. Like, I'm being so serious. Like, I used to think like, oh, all these problems and self-esteem issues I'm having is just because like they came out of thin air. Like, I don't know where they came from. Like, I don't know how I was that stupid. Definitely growing up with a disability, being born with a disability, just, you know, it comes with a lot of struggles. And one of that being is it's mentally tough on someone. I don't know. It's very hard, which I can make a whole separate video on that. So the answer to that is yes. Does your disability frustrate you? People have told me, like, you always put on this positive attitude and you don't need to all the time. And I'm like, I know, like, but what am I gonna do? Like, sit around like being sad all day and showing people I'm sad? Like, no, I don't want that. That's sad. But yeah, I definitely try to maintain a positive attitude and seem positive about it because I don't want to make anybody else sad around me. Like, that's not fun. Like I mentioned, it's very tough dealing with a disability, and also just having everyday tasks being a little bit more difficult for me than the average person. That's definitely frustrating. Ugh, yeah, I'm definitely not positive all the time, guys. Do you need to go to certain like doctors or therapists and stuff like that? I used to go to occupational therapy and physical therapy and specialists, like special doctors. That was all like pediatric stuff. So I don't see any special doctors now for my disability. But the biggest thing I can say is occupational therapy is like one of the best things to do when you have a disability, in my opinion. And I feel like that's the biggest reason why I am independent today. Now I don't see any specialists or therapists or anything because I'm an adult now and there's nothing more that they can do, really. Obviously, if something were to happen and I needed a doctor, I could probably find a specialist, but I've gone through enough therapy and surgeries for a lifetime. Like, oh, and the last question is, do you have a disability when you're in your dreams at night? Someone asked me this and I thought it was a really interesting question, and it made me really think about it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I do. Every time I wake up from a dream, I don't think I have a disability because in the dream, I'm able to do things that I'm not able to do in real life. So that's pretty interesting if you think about it, and I wanted to include that because it is really cool if you think about it. I wonder why that is. I should just dream all the time. But anyways, that is it for this Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to redo this video to kick off this little series talking more about my disability and going more in depth about it. Yeah, I thought a Q&A would be a good way to start that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.